morning, everybody. Thank you for listening in to our project proposal presentation on the EPIC project in the Deep Elam neighborhood. We are Keen Action Construction. My name is David Regan. I'm the project executive.
My name is Bailey McGuire, and I'm the safety manager.
I'm Joe Carell, the senior superintendent.
And I'm Zach Kraus, the project manager. Not with us today is Gretchen Bachenauer, Cheryl Baca, Jacob Pecos, and Matt Babbage. A little bit about Keen Action Construction's company background. We were founded in 1957 and have 64 years of experience. We are employee owned as of 1973 and have over 5,500 employees. Our main office is located in Garland, Texas, and we were recently ranked 29th on the Engineering News Record's top 400 contractors list in 2020. All our decisions made in our project proposal are guided by our 5 core values, which are integrity, hard work, family, safety, and communication. Some of our previous projects include the 300 Pearl on the top right there. That was a new construction build in downtown Dallas where we self-performed concrete, and it was consisting of a retail, office, and living space. On the bottom right there, that is a Statler Hotel. That is a renovation we completed in 2017 that consisted of some interior intricate details that will apply to the Deep Elam project as well. Some of our other projects we completed in the Dallas area include the Hall Arts Hotel and the Encore Swiss Avenue Apartments complex, all of which these projects achieved a LEED Gold certification and at least a 15% MWDBDE participation. We plan to do so in this Deep Elam project as well. Our management is very safety focused as we previously obtained a 0.61 EMR rating and are Diamond Step accredited by ADC. Next, I'm going to turn it over to David Reagan, and he's going to discuss our project estimate.
Thanks, Zach. So for our initial estimate, based off historical data for similar projects, came out to $87,551,680. Few major cost items was our concrete, which will be self-performed. It came in just under $21.2 million. Our curtain wall, which came in just below $15.2 million. All MEPs altogether came into just under $9.1 million, further broken down into mechanicals, which is just under $3.8 million, electrical just over $3.8 million, and plumbing, which came into $1.5 million. Our earthwork came into $1.7 million, and all shoring for the main pits and boat detentions came into just under $3.9 million, with all interior finishes at $5 million. After reviewing our qualified subcontractors, our revised GMP price was $88,892,689. As we move into our project schedule, as we received the notice to proceed on April 19th, 2021, we will begin earthwork and excavation, which will conclude on August 23rd, 2021. We'll then have temp power to the site and begin our parking structure, which will conclude on May 23rd, 2022. In the meantime, we will start the core superstructure, which will start on January 14th and conclude on August 31st. We will have permanent power to the site on February 4th, and we will have the elevator install start shortly thereafter, running from February 22nd to October 31st. Also, our curtain wall will run from May 19th until September 5th. Following substantial completion, we'll be finishing up our testing on October 31st, 2022, with our final completion being November 18th, 2022. We would also like to note that we will be pushing the urgency of the schedule throughout this project, as well as anticipating any COVID delays. We will be pushing through the pre-construction, the early construction of this project, getting any paperwork that needs to be approved to our subcontractors so they can order any parts and materials that they may need for this project as early as possible to meet this project end date. I'll now hand it over to Joe as he'll talk about our site utilization.
Thank you, David. As you can see here with phase 1 of our site utilization, we will begin with the driving the piles, installation of the shoring, and the excavation for the main pit, followed by detention A and B. Moving on to phase 2, as you can see, we will begin with the erecting of crane A and crane B, and then the pouring of level B2 using a mobile concrete pump and those cranes. Moving on to phase 3, you can see we'll be moving up to level B1, and we will break the site down to 4 quadrants. As you can see here, we have the swing radiuses for the crane A and crane B, which will assist the mobile concrete pump for placing that concrete. To give you a better visual of those cranes we'll be using, here's a 3D view of our pair of SK415s and their swing radiuses. As you can see, crane A is slightly shorter than crane B to allow for that swing radius overhang. Moving on to phase 4, we move on to the above ground parking garage L1 through L6. Once again, we'll be using crane A and crane B for the pouring, along with a pair of mobile concrete pumps. Also at this time, you can see we install a material lift on the south side of the building to assist with moving materials around site. At this time, the construction of the building to the south will begin, so we shortened up our material storage area to account for that and the additional contractors on site. Moving on to phase 5, this is the superstructure of the building, which we broke down into two different sections for phasing. The concrete will be poured using a stationary concrete pump with a slick line and placing boom. Once again, we'll have material hoist for moving materials up and down the building. At this time, we'll take out crane A and we'll only be using crane B for that work. Moving on to phase 6, this will include any other exterior improvements, paving, and landscaping, and anything else that we need to finish up on. And now I'll hand it off to Bailey McGuire with his safety.
So safety will be a huge point of emphasis on our project. We want to address the OSHA's Fatal 4. We take this into account on every one of our projects, but just to mention them, falls, electrical hazards, struck by, caught in betweens are going to be huge points of emphasis. But we also do have a focus 5 hazards that we want to make sure we meet. So site security signage and fences are going to be a huge factor in the process of this job site. Obviously, with Deep Elam being a huge tourist attraction in the Dallas area, we need to make sure that we keep the public out of the working area. Material handling, with the congestion of the site, we need to make sure that we're getting just-in-time delivery, moving material up to where it needs to get to, and allowing for room for extra trucks that are arriving to unload them and get them to the site. Trench collapse and overhead issues are going to be another huge problem with the 3 major excavations that are happening on site, that being the parking garage, detention A, and detention B. We need to make sure we have a proper guardrail to eliminate any overhead issues, and then also inspecting those with our quality control team. Traffic control issues, again, with the congestion of the site and making sure that material is getting out, we also need to make sure we have a flow through the site to allow subcontractors to finish their work. Weather conditions are a huge point of emphasis. As you know, last winter, Dallas had an ice storm that went through and caused a huge power outage. We need to make sure that we are aware of every weather condition that may be occurring in the future. So we want to have that as a point of emphasis. And then also in the summer, the heat that is applied in Dallas, we need to make sure that everybody is hydrated accordingly, make sure that everybody is safe. Our emergency action plan, we want to move into crisis management. So we want to have a plan for in case there is a crisis on site. As you can see on the right, there's a contact information. This is actually going to be in the form of a helmet sticker that will be placed on the inside of every individual on site. This is given out during their safety indoctrination. This just lists out the individuals that they can contact in case of emergency with local authorities as well. We also want to point out that COVID-19 has been a huge issue throughout the past year. We will be monitoring this and making sure that we're accommodating anybody that does have a problem with COVID-19 and making sure that we maintain safe distance between each other. So then I move on to the activity hazard analysis, the curtain wall installation. This was something that we wanted to lay out as a major point of emphasis on the site. So we just went through the principal steps, potential hazards, and recommended controls that we wanted to go through. This is a living document. This will be changing from day to day, so it is not something that is set in stone. As we move forward, there's inspections and data and training requirements that we want to make sure we get through with the equipment, making sure everybody has the right training, and then obviously listing out competent individuals in the process of that activity. As we move forward, we go into our excavation activities. Again, there's 3 major excavations that will be occurring: the parking garage, detention tank A, and detention tank B. So we put together an activity hazard analysis through step 2 on the detention tanks. We want to make sure that these are all points of emphasis throughout the site. Again, like Joe said, the site utilization 1 does lay out the excavations and where they're occurring, and they are occurring at the beginning of the site. So Keen Action Construction just wants to thank you for the opportunity to bid this project. We want to remind you that our final price was $87,551,680. Our revised GMP price was $88,892,689. Our date of completion is November 18th, 2022. We are ABC Diamond Step accredited. We do have a 0.61 EMR rating. We are ranked 29th in Engineering News Records Top 400 Contractors list. And from all of us at Keen Action Construction, we want to let you know that we are keen to get after this project. Thank you.
We'll now open it up for any questions or comments on our
Yeah, so hey guys, great job. This is Amanda. I've got one question before I hand it off to the other judges here. So you guys have a really aggressive schedule. I was looking at the milestones in the proposal, and originally you had 2 months, I believe, for the glazing install. Per what you just showed us in this presentation, it looks like it's now about 4 months. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the crew size or the work hours you're anticipating to achieve a full glazing install in that time frame?
Yep. So we are looking to work with our glazing contractor to get just-in-time delivery, which is going to be a feat, getting materials to site the day of or just the day prior. As we don't know as much materials handling, we do want to note that storage area, but we will be working with them with the tower crane and scheduling, getting pieces of this, the prefab curtain wall together. We will be having it made in 3 sections, if you can imagine that 3 panes of glass at 1 story tall, prefab together. They will bring that to site, as many as they need that day as they'll be working on. We plan on working through regular working hours, and as the concrete is being completed, the glazing contractor will go about 5 stories behind, putting in anchors so that they can begin install as soon as the concrete finishes up on site. As well as, like I said, it'll be during regular working hours, so you don't anticipate any overtime there. But we also do want to note that this will probably be at a double crew size, as well as they talked about having a spider crane, I believe they called it, which will have in the inside of the building. So when the tower crane comes in, it'll suction to the glazing, allowing those contractors to put the curtain wall up to the anchors and tie them in and do any bit of work they need there, as well as freeing up time with the tower crane to keep that production time moving. So this will be a larger crew, pushing probably 20 to 25, possibly even 30 people for their glazing.
I think to add on to that too as well, the amount of curtain wall that's on the project, it will become more of a duty cycle. They'll know what they need to do at each level, so they will get quicker at it and work up to that. So that is something that we are planning on them being able to do.
Okay, no, that's great. Do you know if you're going to kind of do a lot of that prefab work on those panels, do you know what the lead time is that you're expecting for those?
Yep, the lead time we talked about would be, I think it's around 6 to 8 weeks for prefab. That included, at every corner, they leave 1 section of panel out, and that'll be another additional 4 weeks as they, this is construction and things shift and things move. They want to measure that final curtain wall piece there on any corner up to this correct specification. So at that corner piece, they'll measure exactly where they need to know, order that, and that'll be in the next month. All right, following that.
Great, thank you. I'll turn it over to the judges.
Hey guys,
this is Tommy. I've got a question. Go ahead, Brent.
Go ahead. We talked a lot about the glazing portion of the job, crane sequencing and all that. What is your guys' plan from a BIM coordination standpoint with all the trades that you guys have?
Yep, so we have a 3D model of this that will be built in our BIM department that we have allocated for doing jobs very similar to this. We've done a lot of work similar to this on our previous projects. BIM has obviously been used to see any potential hazards, as we can go in and have some of our project engineers going through on a daily basis and doing quality control checks, as well as our allocated quality control managers going in with their iPads, seeing in Procore that will be downloaded on everybody's iPad, and every foreman will also have that responsibility to go back and check. Say if we put a piece of duct in one section, to see that the plumbing isn't getting into conflict with it when they install it. Things change and things move, but as in terms of the curtain wall, we want to mention that the BIM will hopefully help speed up that process of those final calculations, as what we can put measurements in and put any further speed up the production time, so we can communicate effectively if we see something wrong with a measurement. Let's say our curtain wall contractor took about a certain piece of that final curtain wall, that we can directly relate back to relay that back to the manufacturer.
And I think from a safety standpoint, with the amount of post-tension concrete that we do have, with our quality control and all the subcontractors on site and the superintendents that we do have, we need to make sure that we are coordinating daily and making sure that we're not hitting that concrete at all or doing anything to interact with that to maybe cause a major failure. So that's going to be a huge point of emphasis, is having those meetings and making sure that we're all coordinating and not creating a bigger problem or putting people at risk.
Okay. And do you guys plan on updating the BIM model with actual on-site as-built conditions?
Yeah, so that will be partially up to our subcontractors, who will be responsible for advising us at our weekly meetings of what they have done. Let's say we went to put in a piece of conduit, and it turned out that there was a drywall that got in the way. Something happened. They need to put that into our Procore app and tell us immediately, hey, on level 4, there was this problem, this, and this. Please coordinate with the mechanicals, and then it'll be on our responsibility to coordinate that. So maybe our mechanical contractor or drywall contractor, whoever it may be, can come out and fix the problem. And this will happen within the day, if not early the next day.
And Matt, our quality control individual on site, he's very diligent with this. So it's something that he takes pride in and makes sure that everything is accounted for correctly. So.
And with
Okay,
such a
thank you guys.
with such a tight schedule like this, it's of the utmost importance of keeping that date, that November 18th date, in the forefront of our mind and mitigating any of those problems as they arise. So it's not further delayed, trying to get contractors who have maybe left the site to come back.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll turn it over to another judge.
Thank you.
This is Tommy. I have a question on your pricing. It looks like your GMP pricing increased by about $1.3 million over your estimate in step 1 that you turned into us. Have you identified what items drove that increase, and what items would you propose to help us get back to that budget or even improve on it, so that we can get to a target below $87 million?
Sure. I think it's pretty widely known now that the cost of metal has skyrocketed, as well as wood. Although there's not too much wood on this project, that is a point of emphasis we like to note. We want to answer your question, metal is what drove this price up. This was off historical data. That $87.5 million was off our historical data. Granted, that's 2018, 2019, some of 2020. It's now 2021, which has changed the game in terms of pricing. What we suggest is possibly reviewing some metal cost. A lot of the metal paneling on the first floor and some of the metal around the parking structure that ties in the curtain wall is something that we would suggest maybe finding another alternative to that would hopefully bring down that price.
In our original estimate too, we did incorporate an escalation cost for any pricing changes to steel in the future, which is a 1%. So we just want to make sure that we note that too. So we're trying to account for that cost increase.
Understood. My next question leads into an item on your BR. It looks like on your builder's risk worksheet, it looks like you guys have included about 19 months of snow rate in your rate, which your BR rate looked a little high, higher than we were expecting or had budgeted for. If you were to go back and reevaluate that and there was any savings there, would those savings be able to be passed on to us as the owner?
Yep. I think what happened must have been a mistake on our part is filling out that form, but that mistake would be allocated back to the owner. I know it's a pretty significant cost. It came out to somewhere in the range of $700,000 to $800,000. That cost will be allocated as this is Dallas. We won't have much snow issues as we thought until last winter, but we will account for some of that in any possible winter conditions. That will be, yeah. So long story short, yes, it will be allocated back to the owner. Back to you guys.
Okay. That's good. And then my final question is going to be schedule related. And looking at your cover letter was indicating a 428 calendar day duration for the schedule, but your Exhibit C milestone chart was showing 597 days. Can you just confirm which is correct there for us?
The correct date is the 400 day. That was supposed to be working days, and the 500 is of the calendar days. And that hopefully clears it up.
Okay. Yes, that does.
Sorry, that was a clerical error on our end there.
Sorry. I'll turn it over to any other judges that have a last few questions.
Yeah, so this is Andrew. I've got just a couple quick questions on your estimate. You guys have a diversity coordinator listed within your estimate. Can you tell me who that is and what they do?
Sure. So our diversity coordinator is someone who will help us achieve that 50% MWVBE substantial part of our project, as well as going out into the community. And there's a trade shortage, and going into schools and going into other places and promoting trades. So their job isn't specifically diversity related, but more as going out in the community and putting Keen Action Construction's name out there, promoting food drives, promoting winter coat drives, stuff of that nature, to go out and push our name, as well as showing what the good work that we do out in the community, that we're not just construction related, but that we also allow opportunities for our employees and everyone else who works with us to go out and do a little bit more. So that's what that job is specifically entails.
Okay. Kind of moving further down within your estimate, you guys have visqueen listed in there as a vertical application. Can you explain to me what that's for?
Sorry, what was that?
You have visqueen that's listed as a vertical application in your estimate. What's that for?
Yep, so that will be used when we're doing any spray installation for the fireproofing on that steel around the parking garage area and any exposed steel. So we'll be using that to cover out the outside, as well as any entrances to keep people out while we're doing that spray foam fireproofing, as that's something that we need to keep in sight. We're not allowed to spray with openings, so we won't have any curtain walls up, and we won't have any means of getting that toxic air out. But we need to our community, but we will have some means of keeping our employees safe while in there. But it's to promote so that it doesn't allow the spray cementatious mixture to fly out of our building onto the streets. So that will just be covering the outside of the building, ensuring that that stuff doesn't fly out.
Gotcha. Okay. And then one last question is parking for you guys and your subs, right? So I saw on the site U plan that you have an area blocked off for parking. How long do you anticipate the use of that parking, and how are those costs covered?
So the parking that's on site will only be used during the phases as listed on site utilization and in the schedule. The majority of our parking will be across the street in that rented lot. I think, David, do you know the price of that?
Yep, I believe it was $14 per car per day. And the only cars that will be allowed to park on our site are cars that have commercial plates and registration that are tied back to a company for insurance reasons. No one is going to be allowed to park in our parking garage, because we do not want to have any conflictions with something dropping a hit and break someone's windshield or getting scratched or dinged. It's just too much of a liability issue. So that's why we were promoting putting people across the street in that rented lot just to the north, so that it's quick access to our employees, as well as we factored in that price into our general conditions for paying for that parking.
Gotcha. And the reason I was asking is because I saw the 60 days that you have allotted for it. I just wondered if that was enough time.
The 60 days were for when we have the most amount of employees on our site. Those will be through our high activity days, when the concrete's ending and when the curtain wall is beginning. And it's also a little bit of helping with our way of setting it up with our people who've been coordinating that with that parking people. That's what we figured was going to, for our employees, our self-performed people, that's where it's going to cost for our concrete guys to park over there.
Okay. Thanks, appreciate it.
Anyone else?
I think we're about at time, right, Haley?
Yep. All right. Congratulations, guys. Well done. You can go ahead and log off. You're more than welcome to join back on, but if you can just log off so you're not in as a panelist anymore. And congratulations.
Great job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.